Special fighters move up to fight dominant champions, especially when they're not champion anymore, because something went wrong, right, for them to lose their title, and move up and beat that guy. And Teofimo's done. He's a special guy. He's able to be his best when he needs to be his best. When the lights are brightest, he is at his best. And it's been this way throughout his career. And even in the one loss to Kambosos, he had a condition that could have killed him. He kept himself off the canvas. He rallies late, scores a knockdown, just loses a close decision. And that's the only reason, they were both 19 fights with 13 knockouts. The only difference is Taylor had survived his close call with Catterall, and the decision didn't go Teo's way, which it shouldn't have, against Kambosos. But he's special, man. Like, if it's Heisman night, or if it's Comey for his first belt, or if it's Lomachenko, or if it's Taylor, that's when he's been at his best.
Would you favor him against Gervonta at this point, or probably not? That a 50-50 fight?
That's a great fight that's unlikely to happen for promotional issues, but it's a great fight. They're both twitchy, skillful, and power-punching fighters. So, but he has a ton of options. He has a Lomachenko rematch. He could do a Kambosos rematch just to do it, right? You could put him with Haney, because Haney's moving up. He's the undisputed.
Who's your favorite?
I have to think about it. Devin Haney.
We're going to put you on the spot, man.
Devin, who would I favor? Who do I think would be favored in that fight?
Haney or Lopez, yeah.
Ooh, that's a great one. Maybe. Ooh, I was about to say Haney, except Lopez has sudden power, and we've seen Haney hurt by shots like that. That's a pick'em kind of fight.
You're not buying the retirement stuff he just claimed that he wants to walk? Yeah, he said he wants to walk away. Are you buying that?
Yeah, no. He might feel that way right now. But, eventually he's very, very good at what he does. He's 25 years old, and he's the undisputed junior welterweight champion. He's undisputed because, Prograis had a belt, right? They unified it. Him and Josh Taylor unified the belts. Josh Taylor won all the belts, and he's never lost, and he's never left the division, and he didn't retire. So explain how he's not undisputed. He is undisputed. No one has a legitimate claim to dispute his claim as junior welterweight champion. Now, Teo beat him. Now Teo's undisputed. He's undisputed. There's no legitimate dispute to his claim as the kingpin of the division.
What did you make of the scorecards?
Way too close. 15-30. The possible range of scores in that fight are 16-12 to 18-10. And unlike Lomachenko and Haney, where you had a ton of swing rounds, there were very few swing rounds here. The rounds were pretty obvious.
What went wrong for Josh Taylor tonight?
Was that?
What went wrong for Josh Taylor tonight?
He looked flat. He looked unimaginative and slow compared to Teo. And he's not making any excuses. You have to wonder how long, how much did the layoff affect him? But even then, he had a close call against Catterall. So, maybe there are reasons for that. Maybe he's been at the weight too long, and sometimes that can happen to a fighter if he's been at one, a certain weight his entire career at a world-class level. Or maybe he just ran into a faster, better fighter.
Max, looking forward to the next undisputed fight we have July 29th. Spence versus Crawford. We finally got it.
It's the best sporting event that can be made.
How does Spence deal with Terrence's switch hitting, and vice versa? How does Crawford deal with Spence's pressure and body?
That's what they're there to find out. The tough thing for Crawford is that Spence has a very high work rate, and we've seen Spence win behind a jab and defense on a world-class level. He's also a real hard hitter, and he's twitchy, and he's very aggressive. So usually Crawford likes to study a guy for a couple rounds, and then he kind of, okay, now I got it, and then he does it. But against Spence, you might have to hurt him or knock him out, because you turn around, and if Crawford messes around, it can be down 4-1 after 5 rounds, and not against the guy who's looking to survive, against the guy who's looking to beat you up. On the other hand, Spence also has to worry about the fact that he's been through a lot in his life so far. And Crawford, although he also has been really about boxing for a lot of years now. Usually that guy will have the advantage in the moment of truth, And Crawford's always made adjustments. He's probably the best adjusting fighter in the sport.
But to push back on that, Spence has been through a lot, but have you seen any deterioration in his game overall, or?
Deterioration is hard to say, but there's been deterioration. I can't say that. I can't say there's evidence for that. I can say that he hasn't. I'm trying to think of like what's Spence's most impressive outing, right?
Maybe Kell Brook?
Kell Brook, because Kell Brook did his best to kind of. Kell Brook was coming off an impressive performance, though it was a loss, where he got his face broken, right, in a higher division. But Spence really applied himself very well in that fight. The Sean Porter fight was a modern classic. But then again, Sean Porter, though he was a little fresher at the time, gave Spence a better fight than he gave Crawford.
Max, what do you think of this Saudi heavyweight tournament?
I think that that the Saudi investment fund is sports washing their human rights record, and they've done it in golf and they've done it in boxing for a while now.
Max, what do you think of? I know everybody's pretty much saying that the winner between Spence and Crawford should be counted for number one. But what do you think about in the way of Crawford should be that winner?
You could argue. No. You could say that it depends. Let's see how everybody looks. But Spence and Crawford, whoever wins that fight, especially if it's a great fight, is clearly the best pound for pound fighter in the world. Like, I like Stephen Fulton a lot. He has not proven yet what Spence and Crawford have proven. He just hasn't been around as long at that level. And he's I like Fulton a lot, very well-rounded fighter. I usually like the twitchier guy there, and that is Inoue. He is the kind of explosive athlete guy. But let's see, if Fulton wins, or even if he loses well, if he acquits himself well, maybe I'll feel differently. But right now, winner of Spence Crawford is.
Max, what do you think of the performance of Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia and the outcome of what happened overall? Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia.
Let's leave the rehydration clause and all that stuff alone, because I admire what Ryan Garcia did. What he did was he made that fight. And in fact, I don't think it's a coincidence we see all these fights getting made in boxing now. Because what Garcia showed by example, because he could have milked his following, which is enormous, in easy money fights against guys he could beat forever if he really wanted to do it. It's not who he is. He wants to prove himself. So he made it happen. He gave up everything, not just because Tank is the bigger star, because that was actually debatable before the fight, but because that's what it took to make the fight happen. That said, it was clear in that fight that Tank is just a better fighter. Tank is an underrated, he's a little overrated by people who don't know boxing and underrated by people who do. Because he's a big star and he's a power puncher and all that, he's got a personality, but he's an excellent, very high IQ fighter. He sets traps, his feet are good, he has a bag, his toolbox is deep, and on top of that he can obviously punch.